Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live, the only show on the internet where we dare to talk about things like space lasers, dragons, TV, movies, books, comics, dinosaurs, maybe. Whatever you need to know, we are here to tell you as long as it's about those things. I am Dan Selcke, the editor of WiC.net, and I'm here today with my special co-host, WiC writer, Ariba Bhuvad, who I'm sure you have seen on the front page of Winter is Coming. She writes all the time for us. Ariba, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here.
I am too, but both because it's fun to see you because we don't really get to like talk in person. Well, it's kind of whatever this
Yeah.
is in person that often. And also because you have seen not only the Batman, which opens tomorrow or Friday, Wide, the hot new Cape Crusader movie. You've also seen the first episode of Outlander, which opens next week. So you have a lot of juicy impressions to share. I am eager to pick your brain about them. And hey, everybody, for joining us. Hey, Julie. Hey, Nicole. Good to see everybody. And but first, before we get into all that, I did want to go over, because we are, started life as a Game of Thrones podcast. We still have Game of Thrones roots. I definitely did want to go over a new development that we're all eager about, the premiere date of the HBO's Game of Thrones prequel show, House of the Dragon, which short version, we don't know anything for sure, but longer version, the evidence is beginning to pile up. Are you looking forward to House of the Dragon, Ariba, the Game of Thrones prequel show?
Yes, very, very, very excited.
It should be a good time, right? Anyway, we've been trying to divine like when it's coming out, right? When it's going to premiere, and they haven't said anything. But we learned, I think last week we reported that they're going to release a special edition of Fire and Blood, which is the book that the show is based on July 12th. Like it's gonna be one of those like now a major TV show at HBO stickers and the thing. It'll be one of those things. Which I'm like, okay, July 12th, that's interesting. I wonder if it's going to be around then. And then this week we found out that the 2023 A Song of Ice and Fire calendar, every year they put out like this calendar with like kind of seeing some of the books illustrated by different illustrators. This year it's going to be all about the Dance of the Dragon, which is the period that the show House of the Dragon will cover. And it's coming out on July 19th. So I'm just saying, July 12th for a tie-in book, July 19th for a tie-in calendar. The signs are starting to align that this show will probably premiere in the summer, July or August, for House of the Dragon. It's starting to look that way. I'm prepared to start making calls and like putting down money, not for real, metaphorical money.
Yeah, I think that sounds, and I'm also thinking like, what else is there on the slate that's that big? So I think I think the summertime would be an opportune time because we've pretty much finished most of their big shows, right, I guess, for the year. So should be the next one. So I think that makes sense. So fingers crossed.
Euphoria just wrapped up. I think they have like Westworld at some point.
Yeah.
Like in the fall, maybe. And it'd be good for them to get it out before the Lord of the Rings show, I think, because that will be a big tent pole everyone's going to be talking about. And okay, a quick question for you. I'm talking about it with Daniel. Would you prefer to have like Lord of the Rings and House of the Dragon competing and running alongside each other? So there's furious discourse on Twitter, but which is better? Or would you rather them do like one after the other? Because I'm kind of split.
Yeah, I guess as a fan, I want them to be split. Like I want to be able to watch one and kind of enjoy that and then watch the other. But then, yeah, it is kind of entertaining to see if they come out at the same to kind of see like what Twitter does. Because come on, that's always like fun to do, right? See what the Twitterverse is doing. So
Twitter,
yeah.
It would definitely be entertaining. I'm sure of that. There would be some spirited discussion, but probably better for all of us if it's more separated. So yeah, people of WiC, I'm calling it right now. House of the Dragon, based on the evidence, summer 2022. That is the prediction. And hey, Martha, hey, Stephanie, good for you to join us. Julie says, being in Australia, I can say winter is coming. Middle of July is right in the middle of winter. Perfect.
Yes, that's perfect.
It will be ideal for you. And I think I've asked this before, Julie, how cold does it get in an Australian winter? Like even when winter is coming, what do we talk about temperature wise? I'm going to guess it's still pretty balmy, but I don't know. Okay. So with that out of the way, let's get to the meat of this episode, which is, Ariba, last night you saw The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson as the Batman, and Zoe Kravitz as the Catwoman, and Colin Farrell as the Penguin. That one surprised me, by the way. I did not expect that one. And Paul Dano as the Riddler. And Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. And I think John Turturro was in there somewhere.
Yes, he's Carmine Falcone. Crazy.
Oh, cool. It's a really stacked cast. Like, honestly, I hear that cast and I almost get to the point where I'm like, is that too much celebrity? Is that somebody like distracting? So I just want to ask you, just your first thoughts. What did you think of The Batman, which opens tomorrow or Friday?
I mean, I loved it, and I've been a harsh critic of DC for for the last gosh knows how long, probably since 2008, since we saw Dark Knight, and saw Heath Ledger. Like, I would say that this is finally, and I hope this is DC just finally getting it right. Like, A plus 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 for me. I loved it. And I get you on the celebrity, going over with the celebrities, but honestly, like Matt Reeves and everybody that was involved just did a phenomenal job with the pacing of the movie. Like, you don't get overwhelmed by the cast, you don't get overwhelmed by the characters. Like, everybody gets their time. And it's honestly, it feels like a true detective movie. And I think that's what Batman fans have been waiting for, especially the comic book fans. Like, it has that vibe to it. And it's just like this noir. Yeah, I just have nothing but good things to say about it. And I never thought that Edward Cullen from Twilight would be the guy to save the Batman. Or just, DC. Like, it's so exciting to go to a DC movie and not come out being like, again, like, why did this suck again? So, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And as for anyone that's worried about the 3 hours, I didn't even look at my phone. Just saying, like, I didn't look at my phone. I was into it the whole time. I know some reviews said the third act was slow, but honestly, like, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I could just keep ranting and raving about it.
And hopefully you will. 3 hours. I mean, yeah, that is long. I was going to ask, is it really 3 hours? And it is. I mean, I like the odd 3 hour movie. That is a bit of an ask, but I guess if you're Batman, you can get away with it, right? Like, people will come to see Batman, whether it's 2, 3, or however many hours. Yeah. Can I ask you this? So, like, we've seen so many Batman movies over the course of our parents, our grandparents' lives. And each series kind of has its own stamp. Like, back in the Burton days, the Michael Keaton was kind of a gothic vision of it. And then you had like the kind of campy Schumacher stuff, and then the very dark and gritty Christopher Nolan ones. What would you say, like, does this new one stand out from those? And I guess how? Like, what angle is this one taking that we haven't seen before?
I think what makes this one special, and it kind of reminds me of the corny Keaton movies in this way, is that it makes Gotham a character.
I like that.
Yeah. So Gotham, and I think that's kind of the heart of what Batman has always been. Like, that city has breeded all these villains that we come to know, right? Like, Batman's villains are so psychological. And I think that's why Gotham always needed to be a central focus and a character on its own. And I think that is, I mean, I would hope that that's what people will walk away from and remember, that Matt Reeves' version made you feel like, all right, like, Gotham, you see why Gotham paved a pathway for all these villains to turn out the way they did. And yeah, like, like, I think that's why I like the Keaton movies so much, because Gotham actually felt like that's what Gotham is. Not everything else we've seen kind of in the middle, but that's truly what Gotham's like. And I felt like that really came back this time, but in a more like sophisticated, it's dark. It gets dark. It's not like any DC movie, even apart from Batman, that we've seen. So I think that's also kind of its unique factor is, and they cuss, like, it's different. You're like, oh, what? So, like, it definitely stands out because of how they make Gotham look.
I love hearing that, because I'm with you completely. Like, the old Burton stuff, kind of, where it's just like this weird Art Deco fever dream of like these weird, impossible black and white stark buildings. And then in the Nolan ones, it kind of looks like Chicago, because it is.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So I am glad to hear that it has a sense of place, is what I'm getting, which I like.
Mhm.
As far as the cussing goes, so I know there is some stuff about like it's PG-13 and you can't, and there's no smoking in it. They had to cut that out, kind of stuff, which I mean does strike me as like, okay, so I get it. So like you want to make like a mature Batman movie with a terrorist Riddler or whatever, and a psychologically messed up Bruce Wayne, but you also want to like sell Legos and Happy Meals and like have a giant crossover hit. Like, what is the tone? Like, does it feel dark and grim, or does it kind of walk the line nicely? What like can you take your 13-year-old to this?
So when I say cussing, it happened like I
Mhm.
think obviously very like 2 times. Like it wasn't like nonstop or
Sure, sure.
anything like that. And it is dark.
Not
Like I don't
Sopranos.
think yeah, and I don't think there was any point where I was like, "Oh, this feels lighthearted." I feel like it stays dark throughout, and I think I even walked away last night asking my brother, I'm like, "Did we ever see Gotham during the day even?" Like I just had that thought like
You
was it
shouldn't
all
know.
yeah, I was like it was always I felt like there was always that dark vibe over it, and it has this really it has its comedy, but it's not, like, obnoxious, or it's not trying to put it in there because they need to keep the rating something or they wanna try to keep
Sure,
it
sure.
light. I think they do a great job of that, and the comedy is in there at the perfect times, and you appreciate it, but I would say overall, it's fairly dark, and I don't think that we've seen a version of Batman done this way before, where you
Which is
also
good. It's
just
hard.
really just get to understand the psyche of not just who Batman is, but who Bruce Wayne is.
Julie says she's heard good things about the Batman, and now you're hearing another one, Julie, because Ariba is definitely a fan. Um, Speaking of kind of the performances, I know that we can't give away, too much. Obviously, we're not going to spoil anything. I mean, I am curious. So, okay, Robert Pattinson, Edward Cullen. I mean, I've always liked him. Like, 'cause he really tried to kind of not rehabilitate is the wrong word, but like kind of change his image a bit after the Twilight stuff. I remember like him in like that weird David Cronenberg thing. He was a bunch of stuff. I don't know what it's called. How is he as Bruce Wayne? Like, and are there performances that you say did you have a favorite performance in this movie?
So personally, so first of all, Robert Pattinson as
Hmm.
Batman, I walked into it being like, because I had already heard good things, but I'm like,
Yeah,
is he really gonna be like, is he gonna be a good Bruce Wayne? Like, is he gonna be the one to
sure,
like
sure.
change it up? And I'm a fan. Like, I also have been watching his movies post Twilight, and he had that weird movie with Willem Dafoe, the Lighthouse one, and like
Right,
him and Kristen Stewart, I will say, coming out of Twilight, have had a great career. They've had
definitely.
great movies, and I think that he brings the type of Batman I think people have been waiting for, and I thought he was phenomenal.
Okay.
But just across the board, all the cast was great, and I think my favorite though has to be Paul Dano as the Riddler. Like,
I was gonna ask.
oh my God, like I've watched him, but this is just like next level. Like I am so glad he got this opportunity because wow, is he a version of Riddler that you've been wanting to see but haven't been able to? Like he was I think for me he was my favorite like performance and just the favorite character.
It's awesome to hear because I mean, Batman things kind of live and die by their villains a lot of the time, whether it's the
Hmm.
Joker or Two-Face, or whatever. And I will say, Paul Dano, when I heard that, I'm like, okay, yeah, like he's always been a little kind of unstable. I remember There Will Be Blood is a great movie, is a great Paul Dano movie. Um, and that was gonna be my next question, like because the Riddler in this is like a Unabomber inspired kind of like domestic terrorist looking thing. It's definitely a choice, and it sounds like you think they pulled it off nicely. Like it doesn't feel too far afield of what the Riddler is, but kind of changed enough so it's different and scary and effective.
Yeah, I think if anything, I think this is like effectively scary in like a really real way, like as much as you don't want it to be like it's just I just think he does it so well that like I was sitting there and I
He's
was
very
like
good.
thinking about Jim Carrey as the Riddler, but like it was just like such
Yes,
a drastic
miles
change.
away.
But I think like people who are fans of the comics have always known that this isn't like a happy-go-lucky story. Like this has always been
Sure.
a dark story and the villains while like you don't see Batman physically like always fighting with these villains, I think what makes them so scary is that they're psychologically they freak you out. Like
Oh, of course.
Riddler gets in your head with his things, and Joker, you know, everybody has their stuff. And I think that's why this version of Paul Dano doing it works really well, because I know we're not used to that. And it is like, oh my God, what is it going to be like? But I think he did it, dude. I mean, wow. Like, I was really surprised at how well he did it. And yeah, I think I think people will walk out of it really appreciating his performance.
Cool. I mean, if they nail the villain, I think you kind of nail the Batman movie. It's always so important
Agreed.
about it.
Yeah.
I one other question for you, because I just had to ask this. By the way, Michael Mathieu says bring back George Clooney. And Michael, I don't even completely disagree. Okay, I'm gonna say right now, I kind of like Batman and Robin. I liked it when I saw it when I was a kid. I liked how goofy and stupid it was. It's not good. I recognize that, but I do kind of like it. Like I always have a bit of a soft spot for it.
Yeah. Same.
The horrible ice puns, poison ivy, ridiculous outfits. I unironically do sort of dig that movie. Okay, I had to ask about Colin, because Colin Farrell was the one who I read and was like, huh? Like,
Yeah.
I got Zoe Kravitz-Catwoman. Like, obviously, that sounds like a good match.
Yeah.
Paul Dano, I knew can play creepy, so I knew they would be at least. Or Pat Stephen, like, you know, he's kind of dark and brooding. Sure, Bruce Wayne, I can get that. I will say, when I heard Colin Farrell is the Penguin, I was like, what? That one seemed weird. How did that come off?
Honestly, watching the trailers and stuff, I still was like, you can't see Colin Farrell in all of
Yeah,
that makeup. And I think that stands true through the movie too. You're just like, I don't see Colin Farrell. So I think like that kind of made it work, because you're used to, yeah, like I was like weirded out too. I'm like, how is Colin Farrell? And then when those images started coming out of him
sure.
as
Him
the
like,
Penguin too, and you're just like, so yeah, I just think you don't see him when you're watching it, because I just can't tell where he is. Like I was like trying to search for it, but he does, you know, and he does a great job too. Like honestly, I couldn't say enough about the cast. But yeah, no, Penguin, he did a good job. Like I kind of went in there underestimating him, because I'm like, I don't know if Colin
sure.
Farrell's like gonna be the guy for this
Cut out
job.
for that.
Yeah, because you're used to the Danny DeVito types, right? You're like, you don't see
There you go.
Colin Farrell really fit in, right? So, but yeah, I mean, they made it work, and whoever did his makeup should just get an Oscar today, I think.
Just skip right to the 2023 Oscars.
Just get it to him.
I am excited. I'm gonna see it. Any anything else you want to say about the movie just before we move on? Any other final thoughts? Any other queries?
No, I hope people will enjoy it. I did, and if, like I said, I know a lot of people don't like the whole 3 hour thing, but I promise you, if you're even a
Yeah,
little bit of a Batman fan, you're gonna love it, and there's gonna be something going on every 30 minutes or so where you're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? So I think they do a good job with the pacing. So go in there and enjoy it, because it's really worth it. And DC's finally done it, guys.
it took them a while, but they did seem to reorganize and get somewhere. Although now there's the whole thing with I know they're talking about like we want like a Batman cinematic universe where they already have like there's a Penguin TV show in the works.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Gotham Police Department thing in the works. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, they're going to want sequels because that's what you do nowadays.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a great foundation, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And we'll be having a review for you tomorrow on winteriscoming.net. Hooray! And also here. Okay, Ariba, again, it's great to have you on in general, but also this week particularly, because you have been seeing all the things. So another hotly anticipated thing that's coming up, the Batman, opens tomorrow. And also, I think this Sunday, the 6th, we get the new season of Outlander, the time-traveling extravaganza on Stars, which I have not watched, just to clarify, in case I describe it wrong, about a woman who falls back in time to 18th century Scotland and picks up with Jamie Fraser, the Highlander. Now they're in America on the eve of the Revolutionary War. And it's the brand new season, the 6th season. Have you seen the first episode or more than the first episode?
Just the first episode.
Cool. And I guess just what were your general takeaways? What were your general impressions?
Yeah, so first of all, it's been 2 years since we've almost 2 years since we've had
Damn, 2
an
years.
episode. Yeah, so I think it was the longest Droughtlander, which is going without any Outlander
Good word.
episodes. So I would say like for the past year or so, as they've been filming and we've been kind of seeing tidbits of interviews, it's been set and known that the season's going to get pretty dark and gritty. And I think they stood true to that. I think right away there's just things happening and things are in motion. And, as you already mentioned, like they're in America, the Revolutionary War is impending, it's right around the corner. But then all these characters have gone through a lot of different things, particularly Claire Fraser, who's played by Katrina Belf. She had a very traumatic thing happen to her at the end of season 5, and that was already starting to take form in like how she's dealing with it in the premiere, season 6 premiere. So you'll start to see parts of that, and I think that was done well because it's not like it doesn't throw everything at you. They kind of paced everything, but the main part of the episode is based on the new characters that will be a part of this season, and they're known as the Christie family. And with them are three new characters. So there's the dad, who's Tom Christie. He's
Mhm.
played by Mark Lewis Jones. Then we have Malva Christie, Jessica Reynolds, and then Alan Christie, who's Alexander Vlahos. And for anyone that watched Versailles, he was in that. So, yeah. But yeah, so already this family, is there, and you immediately learn about why Jamie is connected to the father. They have a history together, so you kind of start to see why this is going to be a threat to Jamie as he tries to continue keeping Fraser's Ridge, which is the community that he's built and all these people
For
live
sure.
in. How that's going to be threatened. And yeah, I mean, I just think that in 90 minutes, it was a 90-minute episode, by the way.
This is great.
And it was great, yeah. And so it's called Echoes, and yeah, I think right away you get the sense that this is gonna get intense. And yeah, and when it ended, I was like, oh gosh, well, here we go. And yeah, I mean, it was good. I think fans will be happy that the Droughtlander is ending and that this is the episode we get to witness for the end of that. So yeah, good things to say. It's really exciting. I'm just so glad it's back and so glad to see like everybody. Yeah, it was just really exciting overall to see all the stories come back and all the stuff that I've been writing about for the last year. Like this is gonna happen
Right.
and this person's gonna show up. So yeah, it was really exciting in that sense.
It's very, very cool. As Martha says, Martha just finished her 5-season rewatch. And by the way, if any of you have questions for Ariba, who's seen the first episode, feel free to sound off. And if they're not horribly spoilery, we can do our best to answer them. Have you read the books by Diana Gabaldon?
I haven't finished all of them. I read the first one, so it's
Mm-hmm.
a work in progress. But yeah, I do know that this one, I think some of the characters, and now if whoever's listening can correct me, but I believe the Christie family was a part of the fifth book, and it like goes into the sixth book, is from what I understand. Maybe someone
Mm-hmm.
out there knows better. But yeah, so this is going to be based on the sixth book, but I'm planning on it. I've been reading along, but I do want to finish at some point.
I love her titles, like An Echo in the
Yes.
Bone, Go to the Bees That I Am Gone. She has really, really good titles.
Yes. And this
Um,
one was A Breath of Snow and Ashes, which is
Also good title.
like,
Yes,
wow.
very ethereal, very nice.
Yes.
Um, Nicole says, loved Versailles, can't wait for Outlander. Is there a lot of hype behind it? Okay, I have like one other dumb question just from a non-Outlander fan, and then I'll ask a good question. So just like as someone who hasn't watched Outlander, and again, this is a stupid question, and we have some questions here, but do they like talk to real historical, like is George Washington in this? Like are there like real historical figures they come across ever, or is it they're in
Um,
history times but they don't really come across anybody?
so from what I mean, I think in seasons past they have, because like the conflict, like especially in the first couple of seasons when that whole conflict of like the big battle is going on, you see
Mhm.
historical figures over there. So far, unless I'm forgetting, I don't think that they have met anybody that, at least in America. I'm trying to remember season 5. It's been a couple years. I don't think we've like met any George Washington types, but that's not to say we won't, who knows? That could happen. But yeah, I don't think anyone besides like the first couple of seasons when there was the war over there going on with the Battle of Culloden, I don't think we've seen anyone, but Oh, looks like
Ooh,
someone said we ran into Washington last season, so there we go. He was in
cool.
it. Okay, I take that back. It's been a couple years, so I forgot. But there you go. George Washington was in it.
I do like that. And as Julie asks, do you know if they cover a reasonable amount of historical events? I love it when they do. And I'll be honest, I like that idea too. And again, I haven't watched the show, but I know I should. There's a lot to watch. I need to watch Euphoria. Um, do they cover like historical events, like a reasonable amount of historical events? Like, will they get involved in like the Battle of Lexington or something in the Revolutionary War?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like they have quite a bit of history and it's pretty accurate. Like even because we'll see what they do now with like the war coming up and how that actually plays out. But I think they're pretty close to history, and I feel like even the stuff that happened with the Battle of Culloden. I remember when I went to Scotland and I was like comparing what I
Ooh, it's so
watched in the
fun.
show and comparing it, like, yeah, I think they stay pretty close to history. Obviously, this is a time traveling show, so there's going to be an
Yes.
element of fantasy, but I like it because yeah, I think that their historical accuracy is pretty good.
According to Martha, yeah, she likes history is
Yep.
close. Okay, I am not equipped to ask really smart questions about this show, but like, what are you looking forward to most in this sixth season?
I think what I'm really, really looking forward to is I love Katrina Balfe, who plays Claire Fraser. She is just so incredibly talented, and it still irks me that these guys don't get any like recognition come
They
award season.
never get any
I
recognition
get
at all.
it like irritates me, but I'm really, as much as her storyline is going to be really dark, I look
Mhm.
forward to just seeing like how she's such a phenomenal actress. So I just am so excited to see how that storyline plays out because I do think it's going to get a little fuzzy and dark, and she's going to start
Mhm.
to make some questionable decisions as she's trying to like work through the trauma but pretend like she's okay. So I'm invested in
Sounds
Claire's
cool.
storyline. I think that's going to be one that's going to be really interesting to watch unravel.
I wonder if they'll do like a Lord of the Rings thing where like at the end, like in the final season, they'll finally start get some Emmy nominations or something to like as a
I hope so.
reward for, we know you've been doing well this whole time. We've been ignoring you because we were really into, Game of Thrones or Succession or whatever. So here's some
Yeah.
stuff to as a consolation prize, hopefully, because I mean, it's been going for a long time now. It's like
Yeah.
officially a middle-aged show. I've heard there are rumors about like it maybe going up to season 7 and maybe like
Hmm.
maybe not going to be out. We'll see what happens, obviously. As
Yeah.
Martha says, I wonder if anyone will try and go
Me
back to the
too.
1970s. Why not?
Yeah, yeah, they could. And I know last season they tried, so the daughter of Claire and Jamie, her and her husband, they tried to, but they weren't able to get through. They still ended up right back where they were. So it'll be
Yep.
interesting to see if, yeah, I wonder if we'll get any flash forwards or not, or going back to like the present.
Mhm.
That'll be interesting to see what happens, or if they'll spend their entire time just kind of dealing with the war that's coming.
Any other thoughts on Outlander? What's coming? What's past? What's present before we move on?
Yeah, I think this season's gonna be a good one. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm also looking forward to seeing if anything that happens in here will kind of help us see, like, because I know they're talking about a prequel series, so I really want to see if
Yes,
there's
they
gonna
are.
be ever any segue into it or anything, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think this is gonna be a great season, and I'm reading the comments. Someone, I think Martha wrote, "Everyone loves Lord John." I would love for Lord John to come back, but yeah, I think he's supposed to have. There's been rumors the prequel series is about him, so we'll see.
I bet there'll be a backdoor pilot. Yeah, that's my guess.
That would
Maybe
be
like
great.
sometime in those like 16 episodes that they have
Yeah,
in season 7, maybe one of those will be dedicated to some kind of prequel. So they want to keep that stuff going.
yeah.
But before we go into our final segment, I didn't have this in the outline, but just in general, we usually have like what are we watching? Just anything else. And I just want to say that I'm not going to talk about anything I'm watching now, but I am watching the advanced episodes of The Last Kingdom season 5 for next week. So even though I don't have the cool things like Ariba that I can share with you, I am ahead of the curve on that one. Next week we'll talk about The Last Kingdom, which comes out, I believe, on next Wednesday,
Yeah,
the
I think
9th.
so.
Yeah. So I'm watching that. That's been really good on Netflix. I'm watching The Gilded Age on
Me
HBO.
too. Me too.
What do you think of it? Can I ask? Like, I
Yeah,
am of two minds about that show.
yeah. On one end, I love the cast so much, so like I think
Mhm.
I excuse sometimes it's a little slow, but then I also really love those period dramas, so I'm a little
Me
torn because
too.
sometimes
I'm a
I'm
sucker
like
for them.
I'll watch anything and everything, but I it is a little slow and I don't know if it's going anywhere. Like sometimes it feels like it has like and I know there's like one family it's following, but yeah, so I'm kind of in the middle, but I still enjoy it because I'm just a sucker for British or any period drama.
Oh, I'm fully with you. I'm a complete sucker for like just really opulently costumed and set
Yeah.
decorated, like kind of ye olde time things. And you said British. It's fully not British, but it
Yeah, it's
feels
not.
very
Yeah,
British.
yeah, yeah. No, I was like, I said British, and then I'm like, wait, it's not British. But no,
Oh
it
no,
just,
I
yeah,
I get why you said it though, because
yeah,
like
yeah,
they're American accents, but it feels like Downton Abbey, like
yeah.
completely,
And I mean, the
even
guy
though
who
it's
made
not.
Downton Abbey is the one who made it, so Julian
And Julian
Fellows. So
Fellows,
that's
yeah.
why I think that's like in my head. I'm like, it's British.
I mean, they all act like they're British. They all have butlers and like it's like the
Yeah,
upstairs downstairs thing,
yeah,
which that's part of the reason I have this little disconnect with it because they're I don't know. It's America. We're not supposed to have this rigid class divide thing, or at least as much as we do. It seems like it kind of celebrates it almost.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
part of me wants these really, really wealthy people whose problems are like, we can't possibly go over to the house with people who have money. We
Oh,
wouldn't dare do this. To like,
yeah,
oh, come on, just do it.
yeah,
Like, why are you making this big deal out of this?
yeah.
Part of
And
me
I what?
wants to yell that at them, but I
Yeah,
also get sucked in. I am a sucker for exactly this kind
yeah.
of show.
Yeah, this is like, and I had read about it like I think this has been like a few years coming. And I read about
Mhm.
it and I was like, I gotta watch it. Like I'm gonna watch it. I don't,
Mhm.
and I also love Christine
That's done easy,
Baranski.
of course.
Like, so I'll watch it. But yeah, I think I like it, but I don't think I like it as much as a lot of other similar genre type shows.
As Nicole said, I agree with Nicole. I agree. It's not a great time to celebrate class vision in America. Which, yeah,
Yeah,
this show feels like it
yeah,
might have
I
been
agree.
like not timed fully correctly. If this had come out like
Yeah,
10 years ago, I think it would have gone over better.
yeah,
Just the way it's going now. But it's also interesting for that reason. Like it's kind of like a time capsule in more ways than
yeah,
one. So yeah, that show is
yeah.
interesting to me.
It is.
I watched anything else? And who out there, if you guys watched anything, feel free to let us know.
I've been watching Pam and Tommy, which
Ooh,
has
how's
been
that?
it's been pretty good. Again, like makeup artists like deserve all the awards because Lily James turning into Pam Anderson,
James.
my goodness, like you can tell like Sebastian stands in Tommy Lee somewhere, but wow. But I like it. I'm enjoying it. I don't really remember, I think it was 12 or something, 10 around that time, so I didn't know
Right,
about
right,
any of
right.
that. But yeah, no, it's been pretty good. It's not like amazing television, but that is just something to watch.
I got you. It's fair enough. I'm also looking forward to that Our Flag Means Death show. I think tomorrow it
Hmm.
premieres, the pirate HBO show. I watched that as well.
Yeah.
As Nicole says, for the Gilded Age, she loves the costumes and sets, but the acting feels a bit stiff and theater like. Nicole, you and I are on the same wavelength. Like I am in a constant battle watching that show. Like I'm like, do I like it or do I not? I can never tell. She like if she liked Vikings Valhalla, it was okay. Not as good as original Vikings show, The Last Kingdom, which I think is about
Mm,
where the critical sense is kind of landing there. And as Christian says,
yeah,
well, I think about The Masked Singer. I still have never watched The Masked Singer. Have you watched The Masked Singer?
I do. I do.
It's fine. It's fine. You can admit it's not shameful.
I do.
Masked Singer.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the type of show sometimes like I'll DVR and kind of forward through because there's a lot of like in the middle stuff you don't need. So I just watch the performances and then watch who gets unmasked.
I've always said my reality thing is RuPaul's Drag Race, which I am watching that as well. And I will always find a place for that somehow. Julie says watching Hotel California and Cleaning Lady and Christian Resident Alien, which is the show I want to pick up.
Ooh,
I'm still gonna try that. Oh, and The
ooh,
Americans.
Americans.
I
I
I,
miss
I,
the Americans.
I never did watch that. That's not one on my list. It's not one like on the
You have to
next.
watch it. Oh man, that's a show I really do miss. I wish that
Everyone
we
loves
had
it.
it.
Yeah.
But
Euphoria 2 is one that I decided I'm going to watch that now because everyone just will not shut up about it. And I
oh
have to
yeah,
take the plunge. Did you watch
it's
that one?
good. Yeah, I have. Just I'm sure you know all about it, but it can get dark a little bit and a little too real. So I always tell anyone that
Right.
wants to watch it because everyone's heard about it. I'm like, just
Yes.
watch it. Make sure like you watch it and like especially if you're binging. I feel like that could get a little overwhelming, the content. So watch at a pace, I guess.
Take some breaks. Okay. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah.
And finally, this is a great surfeit of things to watch. We have our final segment of the hour. We use every week the WiC News Lightning Round, where we go over a quick succession of stories where we couldn't get to them in the main hour for whatever reason, and just give our 20-second takes, no more, possibly less, but the goal is to get it right on as possible, much as you can, although it doesn't matter. You go over, go under, whatever you want, with a buzzer to let you know if you've run out of time. Okay, Reba, you never played this game before, but any questions, or are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, let me pull up. I just know you had another. Okay, the order you made. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, Ariba, first lightning round question. Jodie Whittaker's penultimate episode of Doctor Who will come out over Easter weekend. 20-second thoughts?
I'm excited because it's going to be about Legend of the Sea Devils, which is a really funky story that came out in the 1972 era of Doctor Who. So I think that's going to be awesome. And I heard there's lots of cool visual effects. So I'm looking forward to it. And I can't wait, although I'm really sad that her time is ending.
It feels like it was just yesterday, honestly.
I know.
It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
I know.
Right.
I know. Okay. Well, now for you, Dan. All right, so now we've heard John DiMaggio is joining Hulu's Futurama reboot as Bender. What are your thoughts?
Okay, this is a big controversy. So they're bringing back Futurama, which is this is like over 20 years old Simpsons creator cartoon, which I really liked when I was younger. And they didn't sign out John DiMaggio, who's like plays Bender, who's like the breakout character. And he was like holding out, and he wouldn't jump on, and then he finally jumped on, probably because they gave him the money he wanted. I mean, part of me, because there was this discourse about like, we'll have to find out later what the discourse is about. He's back though. Okay, Ariba, the next story. Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, all the Marvel Netflix shows have now left Netflix, but they will officially be streaming on Disney Plus come March 16th.
About time is all I'm gonna say, really. I'm excited to see what that might mean for future films, because everyone's been kind of wondering about Deadpool and the ratings and if that's going to be allowed. But if they're bringing something like Daredevil into Disney Plus, I guess we'll see what happens. But I'm excited.
There's nudity in those shows on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Brave New World.
All right. So Dan, studios pulled the Batman, Mobius, and other movies from release in Russia. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, was interesting. Just obviously, Russia's invading Ukraine, so all kinds of sanctions have been put against Russia, including studios like just pulling. They're not going to show the Batman. They're not going to show Morbius. They're not going to show the new Pixar thing. They're just starving Russia of movies, while the international community starves them of funds and monetary abilities. It's weird to see like everyone come together to do this. That's probably too heavy a story to put in 20 seconds, but we tried. Ariba, Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard, and Professor X basically confirms, he more or less said it, that he will be appearing in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
If they're already openly letting him say that, then all I can say is what the heck is going to be in this movie, and what else are we going to see if Patrick Stewart is openly talking about this? Like,
they didn't let him do it. It was fully like I'm 82 and don't care, and here's the thing.
Well, whatever it is, I have no idea what this movie's going to have, but I'm so excited. All right. Okay, so amid sale of Netflix, the CW has delayed its plan.
I'm sorry, that should have said amid sale of the CW.
Oh, sorry, amid sale of the CW.
I
should have caught myself. So amid the sale of CW, it looks like they've delayed the planned reboot of Babylon 5. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Babylon 5, this big important sci-fi show from the 90s and 2000s, like the first like really serialized show that like kind of set up this big trend. They were rebooting it with the same guy who was going to reboot the thing on the CW. And then the CW, the big story is the CW is up for sale. That's kind of crazy to me. Like it's like someone's going to buy it, like Disney or Warner Brothers or somebody. And they put it on pause, which makes sense. 20 seconds seems like so short a time sometimes. Okay. Speaking of Euphoria, Ariba, Euphoria is apparently the second most watched show in HBO's history. The first most watched show being obviously Game of Thrones.
I'm not surprised because anybody and everyone I've ever talked to, whether or not they've watched it, knows what Euphoria is. And I felt like that
Sure.
was kind of how Game of Thrones was. Whether or not you watched it, you
Yeah,
knew what it
true.
was. So I can see why. It's an amazing show. But yeah, I'm not too shocked about that.
Fair enough. I've really got to get on that. I'm gonna start watching it perhaps next week after we get some TV stuff off it. Okay. Also, Under It. We're perfect. We're great.
Yes. Okay. Well, last but not least, Peacock is making a Twisted Metal show with Anthony Mackie.
Okay, Twisted Metal is like a 20-year-old vehicular combat video game series I remember from like my early childhood on the PlayStation. And I think it shows the kind of how in vogue game adaptations are right now. And the press is great. The press is just like Twisted Metal, the phenomenon of Twisted Metal. And I'm like, come on, phenomenon? I don't think so. It wasn't never a big deal. It shows like anytime pass at all. Like this episode, that last 20-second clip went by in a flash because it was a lot of fun. And Ariba, thanks so much for coming on here. This was fun. And you brought a wealth of knowledge and insight into the things you have seen.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I loved being here.
Of course. And everybody who's watched us, thank you so much. We are, of course, here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on The Winter Is Coming, a Facebook page, and The Winter Is Coming, a YouTube page. And also you can get us in podcast form on iTunes, Google Play, wherever podcasts are available. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a week. Goodbye.